Howdy fam, welcome to Nate Flows. I hope you all are having a beautiful day, and I know you are because you're watching Nate Flows. So let's put a smile on and open our hips. So today's level 2 of hip abduction, right? So my feet are going away from my midline, okay? Increasing the angle between my two hip joints. So in today's class, you're gonna need 2 blocks and 2 gliders. And I realize we didn't even use the gliders in level 1, but I promise you'll need them today in level 2, so have those handy. And like always in Nate Flow's classes, we're gonna start with the strength portion, right? The COSSACK squats. And then at the end of class, we'll do the flexibility portion, which is the middle splits. So in level 1 for our COSSACK squat, we hit our goddess stance, and then our half COSSACK squat, we went down and up, right? So today you're gonna have to widen your goddess stance a little bit, because as we come to a full COSSACK squat, I'm in my half, and then for full, I drop my glute all the way down to the heel and externally rotate the opposite leg, allowing more space in the opposite hip joint, okay? So let's start in the lateral view. Okay, widen that goddess stance. And we are gonna do 4 sets here, guys, so keep it clean and strong. Conserve a little bit of energy. So widening the goddess stance, driving through the heels, engaging my quads, locking my posterior pelvic tilt. Let's find the half COSSACK squat, right? So I'm here, knees, ankle, hips, all facing about the general direction. And now for my half, I'm gonna externally rotate where my right toes are pointing towards the ceiling, dropping the hip full. So notice I lock my posterior pelvic tilt and trying to keep my shoulders stacked above my hips as much as possible, because remember, we talked about the concept where I can bring my shoulders forward as I naturally come into an anterior pelvic tilt, but then I'm compensating for strength because I'm using my shoulders as a counterbalance, right? So locking that posterior pelvic tilt is going to allow you to build hip strength in your hips instead of using anterior tilt and hip flexion for a counterbalance. So here we go. Widening the goddess stance, heels, knees, quads, posterior pelvic tilt locked. Find your half COSSACK squat. Externally rotate the right leg. Toes come towards the ceiling. Keeping it locked. Find the new depth here, okay? Left quad stays externally rotated, okay? Exhale. Press back up. We're gonna go for 3 more. Half, spin, lock the hips. Both legs are externally rotated. Exhale, press through. 2 more. Half, spin, come down. Shoulders and hips stay square. Exhale, press. Last one, guys. Half, spin, drop, posterior pelvic tilt, quads, depth, and press. Okay, let's go ahead and do the other side. Half, externally rotate, left toes come up towards the ceiling. You're always gonna have to adjust your posture a little bit. You know, each side's different. So half spin, come down, posterior pelvic tilt locked, quads active, shoulders stacked. Exhale, press. Let's make this continuous. Half, full, and press. 2, 1, last one, half, spin, glutes, shoulders, and press. Okay, so I promised 4 sets, so let's go ahead and do 4. On the other side, I'm gonna be facing you so you can see how the feet and knees line up. Okay, fix your pants if you need to. Bam. So I'm in my goddess, driving through my heels, quads are active. Let's start with the left. Locking the posterior pelvic tilt, find your half. Externally rotate the right leg, toes spin up, find that depth. My posterior tilt is locked. Exhale, press. Let's go for 3, 2, last one, guys. 1, and press. So remember, as I find depth, engage the quad to externally rotate the knee and the foot as the hips drop. Other side. Half, spin, drop, and press. For 3, half, 2, last one guys, half, 1, and press. Alrighty, go ahead and walk the feet together. That's full Cossack. So now what we have next is we're gonna do half Cossack glides. These kind of tricky, kind of fun. So find your normal goddess, okay? And now what we're gonna do from here is I'm gonna find my half Cossack. I need to go a bit wider. Find your half Cossack, right? Both legs are externally rotated. And then I'm gonna shift to the other side. I'm not pressing all the way through, but I'm locking the steps. Okay? So let's do 6, and I'll show you the other angle. So I'm gonna start lateral. Here we go. Goddess, heels, knees, quads. Lock your posterior pelvic tilt, core tight, shoulders retracted to press. Half, slide. 2, 3. Lock your posterior pelvic tilt, external rotation. 4, 5, 6, standing. Beautiful job, guys. Let's take a couple Ujjayi breaths here. Find your mountain. Relax your jaw. Drop the tongue. Inhale through the nose. Expand the diaphragm. Exhale through the diaphragm. Relax as the air flows back out through your nose. Connect with your body. Feel your heartbeat. Feel your oxygen. One more. Good. Body and heart connected. Let's do our last set. Goddess stance. Heels, quads, knees, hips, core, shoulders. Half Cossack. Locking the external rotation, posterior pelvic tilt. Slide. 1, 2, 3. Lock the external rotation to the other leg as you shift. 4, 5, 6, and up. Good, guys. So we're gonna do some adduction slide. Although we are doing abduction, the adduction helps stabilize our abduction. So this is where you need your gliders. For this, you can use a towel, 2 towels, as long as the surface is smooth. Not like me. Just kidding. Okay, so bring your knees together on top of the glider. So we'll do 2 rounds. Once again, I'll show you each side. We're gonna do frontal this time. So big toes together, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna come into your anterior tilt as you press the gliders into abduction, right? So I'm here, anterior pelvic tilt, and now I'm gonna use the power of my glutes for a posterior pelvic tilt and bringing the knees into adduction, okay? So I'm sliding back here. Let's go for 5 more. Anterior tilt, spreading the knees away from my midline. Posterior pelvic tilt, pressing the knees down and towards my midline. 4, 3, 2, 1. Last one. Bam. Okay, second round of 6. Find your Ujjayi. I'm gonna set up while you take a couple breaths. Alrighty. So watch my hips here. Take one more breath while I speak. Big toes together. Knees are driving down onto the gliders. And now let's begin. Inhale. Pressing the knees away from your midline. Come into anterior pelvic tilt. Posterior pelvic tilt. Pressing these down towards the midline. 5, 4, 3, 2. Last one, guys. We're gonna hold here, anterior tilt, pressing the knees out, press the knees down and in with that posterior pelvic tilt. Okay? Awesome. So that's all we got for strength for level 2, guys. Let's go ahead and meet on a wall, right? So your sacrum and lumbar is all the way as far back to the wall as you can. You're gonna grab your hands on the outside of your feet and bring the heels as close to the groin as possible, okay, without tearing anything. So, in level 1, we use the blocks to build that depth. So now, we're gonna mainly focus on from the low part of the block, right? The low part to the floor, okay? So we're gonna use the same breathing technique, but using that strength to find depth in our butterfly, okay? Build some wings here. So, bringing the feet close to the midline, my palms are wrapped around the outer edges of my feet. Thumbs are in the soles of my feet. Okay, now I'm pressing my heels towards each other, right? My heels are pressing against each other. Made me think of a battling ram, kind of intense, but bam, just like that. So now, as I inhale, I'm using my hands to resist the adduction of my legs, where my knees are going to come up towards the ceiling, but I'm not going to let that happen because I'm pressing down with my hands. Okay, and then I press through my heels, engage my quads and glutes to bring the knees all the way down towards the floor. So find your depth. We're not going to use blocks in level 2. Let's see if we can get all the way down. Okay, find your feet position. Hands here. Inhale, knees come up towards the ceiling. Resist with the hands. Exhale, press through the heels, engage the quads, press through the glutes. Remember, the glutes are the primary source of activation to externally rotate the knees towards the floor. The hands just kind of guide. Oh my gosh, I found new depth. So now I'm going to press down. As I inhale, press my knees up against the hands, resisting. Exhale, squeeze the glutes, press down with the hands. Okay, remember, hands are secondary. Glutes and heels are primary. Inhale, don't lose your new depth. Press the knees up. Exhale, use the glutes. Come down. So even without using my hands, I can press through my glutes to open up even more. Inhale, press up. Exhale, squeeze open. Okay, I'm going to readjust. 2 more here, guys. Inhale, knees press against the hands. You're resisting with your hands. Don't lose your new depth. Exhale, press through the heels and the glutes. Find that new depth. Okay? Inhale, press. Exhale, squeeze. Inhale, press up. Exhale, press down. And we have a full butterfly here, guys. So even when your knees touch the ground, wherever you're at, let's do one last one. Inhale, press your knees against your hands up towards the ceiling as much as comfortable. Resist with the hands. Okay, exhale, last and final squeeze. And we're going to hold in our exhale for 3, 2, 1. Inhale, slowly come back up. Take the hands, wrap underneath the knees, and we're going to come all the way back up. Okay, lots of ankle flexibility there too, guys. So go ahead and shake that out. So for our second stretch, we're going to do a squashed frog pose, okay? So don't go around squishing frogs, okay? That just means we're using the wall to deepen our frog pose. So using your gliders, you're going to bring the knees on top of them, okay? So whatever depth is comfortable for you, you're going to abduct the hips, okay? And then you're going to stack the ankles underneath the knees, and then the knees parallel with the hips, right? So the more I open up my feet, the more I can pull into abduction. And then as I bring my feet together, the more I can pull into abduction, okay? So it's easier to come in when my feet are together, and then I can use them to pull out, okay? So first, just start with what's comfortable, okay? My heels pressing against the wall, knee stacked above ankle, knee aligned with hip. Check both sides, make sure you're square. So now, if you want, go ahead and place a towel or a blanket underneath you. for your elbows. So we're going to practice the anterior tilt in frog. So I'm going to come down on my elbows. Okay, I'm in neutral right now. Okay, anterior pelvic tilt. See that difference? Neutral, anterior pelvic tilt. So I'm going to press through my elbows and palms to press my butt towards the wall as I keep an anterior pelvic tilt. Okay? So you can relax here as you press to find new depth. If you lift the ankles up towards the ceiling, you can find a little bit of activation if you want to squeeze your anterior tilt more. Okay, walk the hands closer. Anterior pelvic tilt, press through the palms, bringing the hips towards the back wall as you relax. Okay, so my hips are relaxed as I'm pressing through them. Okay, so now I'm going to come back into neutral. Okay, now we're going to practice the posterior pelvic tilt. So this is kind of tricky. So I was pressing my knees out with the anterior tilt to practice my frog depth, right? Pressing the hips back. So now as the hips come neutral, I'm going to come up on my hands. Okay, I'm going to bring my blocks here. I'm going to start on medium. I'm going to come high, and I'm going to come in a little bit because as I come into posterior pelvic tilt, we're going to adduct the knees, right? Because we need that adduction strength to support the posterior pelvic tilt. So I'm here. I'm going to come into a slight posterior pelvic tilt. I'm going to raise the blocks up. And now I'm going to come even more into a deeper posterior pelvic tilt. So I'm pressing my heels against the wall, my knees down and towards my midline, engage my quads, block my posterior pelvic tilt. You can start to lift the hands. Let's come to prayer. Okay, so my glutes is what's supporting me here, okay, allowing me to stack my spine and build strength, okay, in this middle split position. We're going to hold for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, use your blocks. We're going to slowly, so notice as I come into hip flexion, where my shoulders become on the same plane as my hips come to neutral, okay? And then now let's go ahead and find that anterior pelvic tilt again. So press the knees out, realign the ankles, right underneath the knees, check both sides. So this time, we're going to press a little bit deeper. So find your anterior pelvic tilt, press through, relax. Okay, relax the hips, but keep that anterior pelvic tilt as you press through the hands. So now you're going to walk a little bit closer. Okay, also the knees are pressing into ABduction as I have that anterior pelvic tilt. So now I'm going to lift the elbows, press through the palms, locking my anterior pelvic tilt, pressing my hips towards the back wall. You get a lot more power here. Okay? Knees are in ABduction. And whew. Okay, relax the hips and we're pressing. We're going to go for 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ground the elbows. Bring the hips back to neutral. Okay, you can bring the knees in a little bit. Okay, feel what's comfortable. And we're going to do one last posterior pelvic tilt hold. So come up. Okay, now we're going to come, grab our blocks. Let's start. Sorry, a little kink in my pants. Start at medium. Okay. Now we're going to engage our glutes, coming more into a posterior pelvic tilt. Let's come to high. Now the knees are pressing down and abducting, right, to lock in our posterior pelvic tilt more. You can maybe raise one hand, raise the other, ground both. We're going to lift both now, okay? Fingertips, posterior pelvic tilt locked. Okay, knees pressing down, adduction, and the glutes. If you make sound effects, gives you a lot more strength. Okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, ground the hands. Bring the shoulders forward. Start to bring the hips back to neutral position. Okay? Set the blocks to the side. Ground the elbows. And now you're going to walk your feet together, right? It's a lot easier on the knees as the feet come together. And that's going to allow you to way more easy come back into a normal position. If your legs are shaking like you just had ants in your pants, then you're doing everything right here. So go ahead and come back on your mat, guys, and we'll finish off with our third stretch. So now we're going to end with middle splits, guys. So in the frog pose, remember, we use the anterior pelvic tilt to find depth in the middle splits, okay? And then we use a posterior pelvic tilt to build strength in the middle splits, right? So we have these two components to have a full mobile middle splits. So we're going to work on our standing middle splits, just like we used in level 1, but now we're going to use the gliders and the blocks here a little bit more. So have your blocks ready. You're going to place your heels mainly on the gliders. Why we use the heels mostly, okay, heels at the edge, is because that's what we're pressing through. So pressing through the heels allows us to move. So let's come into a goddess position, okay? And now I'm going to use an anterior pelvic tilt and press my heels away from each other towards the outer walls, right, to find depth, like so. And then now I'm going to press my knees down in abduction, so towards my midline posterior pelvic tilt to come up. Quads are active, okay? 3, 2, 1, come down. Maybe you use medium. Anterior pelvic tilt. Hips or ABduction, right? Anterior pelvic tilt, press towards the out wall. Okay, I found some new depth. Let's see if we can lock the posterior pelvic tilt. I'm going to shift my blocks up, press my heels down and in, engage my quads, posterior pelvic tilt. Okay, for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Woo, come down. And now let's end with the anterior pelvic tilt. Press the heels out. Okay? And we're going to hold. Anterior pelvic tilt, pressing the heels down into abduction. 4, 3, 2, 1. Go ahead. Come up on your blocks. We're going to slowly walk the feet in. Okay, if you can, slide up. That was super graceful. Alright guys, let's shake the legs out. So working on that technique between the anterior and posterior is going to build a mobile middle splits, because you have the awareness of anterior tilt, find depth, posterior tilt, build strength in that new depth. Guys, thank you so much for watching. You are all amazing. I hope you're feeling good in your hips throughout this series. Let me know how you guys feel in any comments. Contact me. I would love to reply and connect with you guys. Have a beautiful day. Namaste.